In a series on how do we hire, how do we find great talent, especially in a very difficult job market for small businesses right now. When you can get somebody at, Taco Bell and you have to pay them $19 an hour and you still get anybody to show up, we're in a difficult job market. And so we talked about, the whole idea of creating a scorecard, a performance profile to be very, very specific about what we're looking for and the results that we're looking for somebody to get, not the task that we're looking them to do. There's a big difference. And then we talked about the idea of sourcing, basically gathering as many potential candidates as we could in the last video. And this video, we're going to talk about, okay, now we've got this hopefully big group, a big pool of people that are just potentials at some level. And how do we screen them out? How do we narrow that list down? And, one of the tendencies we have, in small business owners, I know, at least for me anyway, maybe you're not this way, but, I hate the hiring process. It's time consuming, it's boring, it is frustrating, and you just want to okay, this person's good enough, let's be done with it, But you know what, that costs us an enormous amount of money in the long run, like we talked about in previous videos. So we really have to have patience, and we have to do this right and just keep our heads down and know that it will pay off. The tendency with this phase, the screening phase, is to think, oh yeah, we're going to narrow it down, and this person, well, I guess they could be, potentially a thing, and it's like, no, we're not looking for. We have to look at it from a negative standpoint, meaning we have to look at it not from a, hey, here's a big pool, and okay, let's find people who are potentials. No, that's the wrong way to do it. We want to do it backwards. We want to say we're going to find everybody who is not a potential. So we are going to try to get rid of as many people as we can. And I'm not kidding when I say 85, 90, 95% that we're trying to get rid of. So that our goal should be to get rid of people that don't fit exactly that performance profile, that scorecard that we're looking for. And that can be scary because, we've got, let's say you only got 100 people that you're starting off with and you get rid of 95 and you've only got 5 people left. Well, you know what? That's okay. And it can be scary, but, if we end up and we don't have anybody to interview, we don't have anybody by the end of the process, guess what? We just keep going back to the sourcing thing. And if it takes us 3 months to find the right person, again, the consequences of doing it wrong are vastly more than spending a little time, a little extra time, even if it's frustrating, to find the right person. So how do we do this? If we're going to screen out most of our candidates, of course, we've got to, consolidate all this data. We might have, for an administrative position, even in a bad job market, you might have 500, resumes or something, So how do we do this? It can be overwhelming. So, in the old days, what we do, we print out resumes, or we got them in the mail or something, and we literally go through them by hand and mark, this, yes, no, But today there's great things, like they call them ATS systems. They're application tracking systems. Basically, it's just software. It's a website. There's many of them out there. We've used a company called workable.com for a long time, but and they have a great process. But basically what it allows us to do is to collect resumes, collect applications all in one place, and we can track them throughout a process. So we can take them through the screening, the interview, and the reference process all the way up until we actually make them an offer. And there's different levels of these things. You can get very inexpensive ones, like that workable.com is very inexpensive. I think it's like $20 a month or $50 a month. And you can turn it on, use it, and then turn it off, so to speak. And it also allows you to keep track of, multiple jobs, so if you're hiring for one position and then 6 months later you're hiring for another, it's kind of comical because it allows you to get rid of duplicates because, we've had people that have applied for 5 different jobs over the years, and what it does is it pops up and say, hey, this person also applied for this job and this job. And it also tells you, hey, this person applied for the job and this job and was declined for both of them, which is a good hint that you probably don't want to waste your time even considering for this new one. So again, it's a way to narrow things down. And there's varying levels of sophistication. So you got to kind of play with it and try some different things. Simplicity is always better, simplicity and cheapness for small businesses. But even sites like Indeed will have some sort of, process to organize things. You just can't do it by hand anymore. It just doesn't work that way. And so, whenever we're going through this, what we're trying to do is not only screen out people, but we're looking for speed. Speed is the key to this. And so when we're looking through, like if you're looking through resumes, we're looking for speed. We're skimming through it. We're not reading every line because again, this process is very time consuming to start off with. We can't afford to sit there and read everything in depth. So we're going to skim through them, looking for the keywords and the things that are potential. We slow down for a second if we see something we like or don't like, but we can pick up red flags very quickly and dump them without even reading the whole thing. And that's another point. What we're looking for in this process is really obvious stuff. In the way I look at it, anybody who sends in a resume and it's got a grammatical error on it, it's got a typo on it, bam, that's an automatic out of here. Because if you're applying for a job and you know that you're sending something out, you better, there's no excuse not to triple and double check it and all that kind of stuff these days. So use any red flags as an immediate screening. Again, goal is to get rid of people, not to find people. So keep that in mind. Another thing, we're trying to weed out and I think we talked about it in the scorecard video, but we're trying to weed out the B and C players. We're looking for the A players. And so another way we can do that is by having an application form, if you will. Again, some of those job sites like Indeed allow you to put along with put a job posting or whatever, and then they'll allow you to add an application page or whatever before sending in somebody's resume. And again, that allows you to screen out the obvious stuff. And not only that we like to put as many hurdles as we can in front of somebody because the B and C players are too lazy, let's face it, to go out and find. They just want a paycheck. So if we make them jump through all these hoops in the hiring process, unless they really want the job, they're not going to go through it. So again, that knocks off another 10, 20% of people who won't bother to fill out an application. So it could be as short as, 4 questions, how long, have you been doing X, Y, Z, or, anything, just some questions. They don't have to be very in depth, Again, that's going to knock out a lot of people, and that gets rid of more B and C players. Again, getting rid of people, not finding people. And then what we've started doing in the last few years, we had a lot of success with, and very easy to do. When we started doing it, maybe 5 years ago, it wasn't as common, like things like Zoom and being on camera wasn't real comfortable for people, but people are getting more and more comfortable thanks to COVID and remote work. They're used to being on a webcam or whatever, and pretty much everybody has one. Every laptop's got a webcam built into it. If they don't on their desktop computer, most likely they've got it built in, or they've got one with it because you just can't, get away from it. And you can even use your phone these days. You just sit there and talk to it. So what we started doing was, as we said, we'd send out people that we narrowed down in the screening process. If we start out with 500 people, we'd get down to, hey, maybe there's 20 people that could potentially be in here that we haven't screened out. And so we would send them an email and say, hey, if you're interested in this position still, reply to this video and reply to this email and send this 2-minute video about why you think you'd be great for this position. And again, that knocks out another 80% of what's left because people are too lazy to do it. The B and C players won't do it because they're uncomfortable. They're not confident in themselves. I'll give you an example. I think we had a position several years ago that was a very technical position, but it wasn't something that was real common, meaning it was unique to us, a proprietary type of thing. So it was, a little difficult to describe and all that kind of stuff. But anyway, we got, I think it was 500 and something resumes and inquiries. We got down to how many applications that people filled out the application. Then we sent out, I don't know, I'm guessing it was like 20 or 30 people that ended up, we sent send us a video. Literally 2 people sent back the video. But you know what? We ended up interviewing those 2 people and we hired one of them. And she turned out to be one of the best employees we ever had. So it's okay when you get this abysmal, knocking out 90% of the candidates at each of these stages. That's what we want. And so we want to do that. Another thing that we found is really useful is doing skill testing. This one's so funny because, some people think, well, they're a salesperson. What kind of skill testing do you have to have, other than, setting up a, sales scenario where they got to try to close you on the phone or something, which is fine. But we give 100% of our employees, and have for years, a grammar spelling test, or basically a writing test. I mean, it's like a 2-page thing. We did it manually for years, and you can find little programs on the internet for really cheap that allow you to do testing, and just basically test basic grammar. And it's like our school systems are so bad these days, that people graduate and they can barely speak English. I've had, I remember one guy years ago that came in and he had a great resume, MBA, in accounting or whatever it was, some kind of MBA. And we gave him this grammar test, and he got like a 50% on it. He could barely speak and or write, and maybe it's a technical position. You don't think, well, that's not that important, or they're answering the phone or whatever. It's like, well, do you really want that person corresponding, emailing back, a client or a customer, and a support? Do you really want them, dealing with other employees? And because it just makes you look unprofessional. So that's another way. Skill test everybody for basic stuff. I know it sounds like a pain. It sounds kind of dumb, but I'm telling you, it's worth your time. Do it. And don't be cheap about it. If you got to pay for the test to do it online, because they've got, of course, varying levels, sophisticated tests and everything. You just need something real basic, and it might cost you $5 or $10 per candidate that you send it to. But, send it to the people that send in the video, make them fill out a grammar test, or whatever basic testing you can come up with, if you're looking for somebody who's, like we would look for people who are good with Excel, and they didn't have to be a guru, but we wanted them to be intermediate, how to open a spreadsheet, how to arrange some columns, things like that. And again, that would screen out a lot of people, which is good because we don't waste our time on them. And that's the whole point, is that we want to spend minimal time actually interviewing and talking to people in depth who are, we want to make sure those people are qualified in every other way. And any way you can screen them out using skill testing is another great way to do it. So don't skip that one. And I've had people over the years, particularly in the sales, we would hire for a sales manager. And I remember that, an old guy telling me, and not to do with being old, but that's who I remember. But he was like, well, I'm not doing a grammar test or whatever. I'm basically, that's way above me. I'm a, management position. I'm a $75,000, $100,000, employee. I'm not going to lower myself to that. And guess what? Bam, he's out of here. Because anybody who's got an ego like that and is not going to cooperate, sees themselves as better than that, again, that's the red flag. You need to get rid of them, because they're going to give you other problems. Even if they've got the skill set, they're going to cop an attitude. They're going to be a problem to manage. So anybody who balks at doing a skill testing because they think they're better for it, bam, get rid of them. So when it comes to this whole screening process, again, I've emphasized it again and again, because it's so important, and I did it backwards for so long. The point is to get rid of people, not to find people. So keep that mentality when you're going through the screening process, and we're going to continue about the interview process and the reference process. I'm going to show you the next few videos how you do that. But the screening process is about eliminating people. And, I really suggest, if you've got employees already, get help with this, because as long as everybody knows what to look for, how to screen people out, it's a heck of a lot easier to have multiple people working on 500 resumes than it is for you to sit there and do it all. And you can explain to them very quickly, hey, this is what we're looking to screen. These are the red flags to help us get rid of people. So I hope this was helpful. I'll see you guys in the next video. If you're not subscribed to the channel, please do. We're putting out new videos every day, stuff that's helpful for small business owners. Please share this with your friends and colleagues. It really helps us to get the word out, especially topics like this that people are really dying, for some help with these days. So help your friends out, comment on it. Any questions, we always will get back to you and reply to the comments. So appreciate your time, and I'll see you on the next